We're good. I messed with it.
Yeah, you're good. It says on Facebook now.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That was
Technical difficulties, folks.
some work. All right. Well, I was planning on doing something and I lost my let me make sure. This was I'm gonna be curious if you're gonna know this, Pop,
Uh-oh.
how much you're in. All right. For all of my TikTok people out there, let's see if this works. Do you know what this is? No clue?
No. You drinking cranberry juice, you mean, or the song?
So there's a whole thing I'm gonna tell you about. This is a little fun. You know this song?
Yeah.
All right. There's a TikTok that this guy did where his car broke down and he did it to this Fleetwood Mac song. And he's drinking cranberry juice, right? As he's on a longboard, and it got 20 million views. And everybody started buying cranberry juice, Cran-Raz, and doing that same TikTok. And when I went to buy it at Albertsons today, that was the last one. So it shows, it's just a little fun branding thing. The guy was on CNN, the whole nine. And it was kind of like cool. It just shows like how viral and people need something a little different. I was curious if you would know this.
I haven't gone on TikTok in about 10 days, so that's probably why.
Gotcha. Well, that was the whole thing. Okay, so probably wasn't as fun as I wanted it to be. But the irony was it's the song is not the best song in the world. So it's a great song, but it's not a happy song, right?
Many Fleetwood Mac could not.
So, all right. So here is the topic for today, Pop, which I think you're gonna like.
Good.
Great realtors aren't born, they are made.
Hey, I knew that was coming.
You are indeed a product of your environment. Nurture is greater than nature. Now, I'm gonna tell a little story about this morning. So yesterday was Ella's parent-teacher conference, and today was Lola's. And up until this point, Ella has definitely been the one that everyone thinks is super smart and like excelling, right? Lola's a little bit like me, where she only shows you her intelligence when she's in the mood. So yesterday, Ella got like off the charts with reading, like reading at like a 4th grade, 5th grade level, like amazing. But her math was a little low, right? She's having issues with, not issues, she just hasn't been exposed to the multiplication tables, right? Nothing against Dawson, but 25,000 a kid, so that you feel happy in your feelings, but you don't learn anything. Well, Lola today crushed it. She wasn't as high as the reading as Ella, but she was above on both math and reading the averages. So she has just excelled. And she was super, super happy, and Ella was a little bummed. So we had the conversation, and I said, Elle, like, you haven't really put any effort into this. Like, everything comes super easy for you, and you just have to spend a little bit more time on the math, right? You got to actually put effort into it. I told her how, like, that's how I was, and then I put a little effort into it, and I went on a streak of getting like 800s in a row on math tests in 4th grade, right? And I swear to God, she looks at me and goes, "That's all right, Daddy. I'm in the J curve, right?" I said, "You bet." High five. And just the fact, that they listen to the training that I give clients and agents and everybody. But B, she was able to apply the fact that she was in the growth part, that she had to do the work. I said, Elle, you know, your emotional intelligence and your just wisdom off the bat. I said, there's adults that wouldn't have been able to have the wisdom and perspective to look at me and go, I'm in the growth curve right now and everything's fine. And all I could think about was you are a product of your environment. And that there's no way she has that deep sense of understanding unless she is around Angie and I all the time. Right?
Well, I got to spend 3 days with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I noticed all the things you're saying, you know, and I watched Ella read, and Ella reads like, run, hurry, they're after you. You know, she doesn't read like, run, hurry, they're after you. She acts out her reading. She gets so into it. I was like, damn, did she improve? And then Ella was saying she was having a hard time with the multiplication. And I said, Els, we did it that way. We just memorized it. Your dad and I used to joke 1 times 1 and he got it. And then we did 2 times and 3 times. So that's memorization, you know? So we were laughing, and it's funny that you have 2 children so very different in who they are.
Well, it got me thinking about what I think about all the time, right? Which is this business that you and I have created, this company. And, you know, life, that to me, there is no difference between business and personal. It's just, it all blurs, right? And I started thinking like this whole, it's not just great realtors aren't born, they're made. Great children aren't born, they're made. Great people aren't born, they're made. It is a total life of immersion and growth over and over and over again that makes you who you become. And I joke with you all the time that, you know, who I am by nature versus how you raised me, which is the nurture, could have been 2 different scenarios. I probably would have been in prison or in a ditch dead somewhere if you didn't raise me. I mean, all joking aside, I have some really good friends who are very similar to me, who had very different outcomes in their lives, right? And I think, you know, have you seen the movie where the triplets got separated at birth?
Yeah, the 3 guys, 1 died, and yeah,
And
had
they all
tons.
became different people, right? And I was thinking, like, you know, it's that saying, you know, you're a product, you're indeed a product of your environment. Like the whole saying of you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, you make the money of the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You know, that plays in everything, especially inside of this business.
I also think it's a product of attitude of how you're going to look at life. And if you look at life like, okay, I got knocked down, but I'm going to get up and I'm going to do it again, that you could manage to succeed. If you looked at life and said, oh, I got knocked down, oh, I got knocked down, oh, I got knocked down, and you dwell on that, and that's all you're talking about, you're not going to succeed. You have to get knocked down and get back up, which you always did, in fairness.
You know what?
But
Without prompted, you have won the prize. That's exactly what I was going to talk about right now. Because part of the environment you're in determines how your perspective is, right? So you hit the nail on the head without even being prompted of Ella could have handled that very differently. She could have let it ruin her. But because she was so pre-framed in the environment, she was prepared for it, embraced it, and looked at it as an amazing positive challenge, and that's part of the process, which changes the whole game. You know, one of the best things, and I actually get choked up when I think about this. When I hear my lessons to my kids come through me that were your lessons, it is such a smile. It's such a sense of pride, because the stories that you told me growing up have shaped me in such a way and prepared me. And it made it okay. And that is what children need.
Yep.
That is what adults need. That is what realtors need. Right? And that story based, like, it's okay. Here's what I had to do. Here's what happened here. When I was a brand new realtor, I had to chain my father down to a desk in order for him to teach me every single thing. You know, like, you had to learn and be on a team and give away half your commission because you couldn't be there. Like, these things make it okay. And perspective is the whole game. Perspective is the difference of a realtor in their first 24 months saying, I'm never going to be good at this, I'm gone. Because they're
Which
at a,
isn't true, which isn't true. Everyone is trainable. And I think in the last few years between you and I training, we have proved the people we train, they have become ultimate a success. And these were people that had 0 transactions and were getting out of the business. It's, you know what it is, Dave? It's the attitude and the work ethic. That's what makes you successful.
but it's also the journey of the realtor inside of the business.
Yeah. Or it's a
You know,
switch, you know.
it's saying, you're here, here's what to expect.
Yeah.
This is normal. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to do a couple of deals and it's going to be crickets because you're going to have to do some work. Okay, you did 10 deals. Now, guess what? Your business is going to be like this because you have no consistency, no systems in place. So it's going to be feast or famine. So you're going to have to put a system in place to make sure you have more predictable results. Oh, you're on level 3? Guess what? I've been there. You've been there. You're going to get burnt out. You're going to end up in a hospital. So you better scale your business. Here's how you do it. Here's what you need to do. You need a buyer's agent. You need a transaction coordinator.
Right.
Oh, you've hit the top of the thing. What's next?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it has. So that is part of the whole game of your product and environment. And I think that the environment of a real estate office, environment of any company right now, is in an evolution. Restaurants have to really take a hard look at their environments. We obviously do. You know, before COVID, we made a commitment to be this hybrid of an environment, a place where you can come
Right.
and be a part of something, but also a place where we'll come to you through on-demand learning. And that's super important because, you know, it's kind of like immersion, Pops. Like, what's the best way to learn Italian?
Go to Italy.
Move to Italy,
Go
right?
to Italy.
Like,
Io parlo italiano molto bene.
but that's the truth. Like, if you're
Yeah.
not, and then the hardest way to learn Italian is with the Rosetta Stone. You know, I mean, it's a great app, but you're on an app. There's no accountability, and there's no one to talk to.
You
You know, a
know,
second. What you gonna say?
well, you know, it's so funny because life relates to everything. And I was reading Facebook today on lab coat agents, and the conversation was independent versus franchise, and nurture versus nature is part of that. Like, I was in a franchise and they wanted me to put up this vision board, and I had everything I wanted. I had a beautiful house, a beautiful car. I couldn't fill my vision board. But in a franchise, it was A plus B plus C equals D. Whereas in an independent, You don't have to have a vision board. If your vision is to be independently wealthy, so you never have to worry again, if your vision is to create college funds for your, it doesn't have to be a Maserati or a mansion. And the thing I love reading all of this about independence is you get to fit what you want out of your career and how you want to get it through the vision of the independent rather than A plus B and that same path that they expect everyone to take. And your example is Lola's taking one path, Ella's taking another. They're totally individual. It's the same with agents. And that's what I love about us. You could go A, skip B, equals C, equals E to get as long as you have the things you were talking about.
Well, in the class that I teach weekly, we do talk about the goals, right? And vision
Right.
boards are great, but they are very, like you said, materialistic. It's very hard to put a feeling on a vision board. So what we do is we get leverage, right? Because people, the irony of this song called Dreams, people have lost the ability to dream. Like it's very difficult for them to really imagine a compelling future and getting leverage on themselves. You got to have a reason. One of the reasons why you were such a great success story is because you had such a deep hunger to first survive.
Survive. That's a good one.
But I think there was a little bit of like maybe proving your ex wrong, maybe proving people like you can make it. And I think I had a lot to do with it. I mean, listen, Gianna was born 4 days ago, and I have a renewed sense of purpose with even another child, and she's my third child, of just falling in love again and hearing the words of songs and a renewed vigor and hunger of why I'm here and why I do what I do. And if you can't get that leverage on yourself, you have a hard time renewing that hunger. And without that hunger of continuing putting your your chips on the table, there's no growth, there's no expansion, there's no reason to do anything you do, right? And you're right, the vision board isn't necessarily to, it's better than nothing. I mean, vision board's better than most people have. But for you, if I was coaching you back then, I'd be like, I want you to imagine your son never having to worry about paying for college. I want you to imagine never having to have a boss again. I want you to imagine the look on your future spouse's face knowing that you can handle everything. You know what I mean? Like that's where getting that leverage is so important on the outcome. Now, but
Yeah,
when you were
like
talking
on the
about
vision
independent,
board, for instance, on the vision board, the first thing you said is so important because many of us are there. There should have been a survival, like a bandana. I want to survive. I want to be able to pay my bills. You know, some people have a hard time doing that. And if you know that you could work your way through it, that's a great example. My vision board, I was a New York City fireman. I survived on that salary, but my vision in my brain was I wanted more. I wanted more than that in my life. So when we hire a lot of servers and restaurant people, they come from that sales background and they want more. That more creates a want to create a successful person, successful realtor.
yeah, and I mean it isn't necessarily independent versus franchise. I believe it completely comes down to the operator, right? The owner
I think the
operator.
operator, and that's what we got through, but I don't, if for a person like me, and you know, maybe I'm ADD, I don't like boxes. And I think the franchise says, we have a plan, follow this plan. Whereas when you're in the independent, of course you have to have a plan, but that plan could be a little more variable than what they're teaching in the franchise. That's all my only point.
Well, it's a good segue, right? And the segue is, you know, the bigger you get, the more corporate you get, the more you lose that leeway. And the fact that that's why we committed to this 500 agents, right? I mean, so that we can have a deeper one-on-one. We can control the environment it was just so ironic. It's like discipline equals freedom is one of my favorite sayings from Jocko Willink. It's counterintuitive because you're like, wait a minute, discipline is not freedom, but it equals freedom because the more disciplined you are, the more freedom you have, right? Because you're able to do things. Same thing inside of us. The more disciplined, the more we control the environment by having a smaller office, gives us more leeway to be outside the box. And you know, what this all led to me, Pops, thinking about is this whole environment and how great leaders, great people are made. That's when it comes back to my school roots, my teaching roots, right? Where like more one-on-one, more customized approach, more personalized, more knowing your story. You're not just a number. Like you got to know the story, right?
I laugh because you got more of our agents reading books that are coming to me and they're going, oh, Dave told me to read this. Dave told me to read that. And they're all reading books. So you obviously are making a lot of the trainers very happy because they showed me how dedicated you are to the theory of success and how to get there through learning coaching styles and books. So I'm impressed that people are writing to me.
It's not just that. It's like it comes from you, right? So my integrity, listen, I want to make money. I have a capitalistic way that is, I want to succeed. I want to make money. I want this company to make money. That is huge. But my democracy part of me, for instance, is stronger. I don't want to be a hoard of money. I don't want to sell out. I know when you love when I get like that. I don't want to sell out. Like I want it both. But I want the integrity to be above the money. And when I get out of alignment is if the money gets above the integrity, right?
Right.
So the reality is like, yeah, we could have 1,500 agents, but the impact you and I would have not knowing our agents, not being able, like, to me, that's just chasing and chasing and chasing. And that's why it's so important to get leverage on yourself on who you are and what you want. Because
But you're right. And we are so close. We're at like 460 and we have 40 spots left and all the other brokers are silently telling everyone getting back to me. They're not going to stop. They're just going to say it's going to be 600 agents. Well, get ready because it's going to happen in 2020 that by the end of the year, we're going to hit 500 and agents are going to be put on a waiting list. And we will be the first company in my 43 years between New York and Las Vegas that ever capped their company. That's 43 years of business.
keep talking, baby. I mean, like, watch us.
I know.
Watch us. And I was talking to Sean Cunningham about this ages ago, and he was like, "Man, there needs to be like," he's like, "You should really be selling that story." And I'm like, "Well, it's just who we are." He goes, "I've never heard of that." I gotta love Sean, but it made me think of this other point. Again, you're setting me up well today, showing up well. I'm impressed. You know what that deserves? You know what that deserves?
Yeah, I got it. Here we go again.
Up and ain't working. So you won. It's not working.
Oh,
That's funny.
Stevie Nicks. You didn't even buy Diet Cranberry. Yuck, all that sugar.
All right. So here's where I think the distinction is. If I was, and I'm sure our competition is watching, if I was a consultant to our competition, I would say to you, you're leading with the wrong question. Internally, our competitors and most people are leading with this question: how can we market to get more realtors? Okay. Where they should be leading with the question is, how could I teach my agents to make more money, do more deals? That's the difference. It's a distinction.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
Because, and that this trickles down into every single entrepreneur. A realtor should be saying instead, how can I get more clients? paying for leads and things like that, to how could I serve my people more so that they refer me more? How could I go deeper?
which
And
I did,
now,
which I did as a realtor. I had nothing, no website, no nothing. And they all just came to me because I served them to such a degree that they came back and brought every family or every friend they ever knew, referred back.
and I think that's the question, because if we said to an agent, you only have you can only be successful off your current database,
Great. No new.
no new database.
Yep.
You can't buy leads, no new people. You have to get just referral. It would probably be the greatest gift we ever did, because they would spend less money, they'd have deeper connections, and they get more referrals, and they'd make more.
Yeah.
And right, I mean, who has ever heard? So you know how much I've learned that growth and expansion is the name of the game, right? It's just the conversation is, where do you grow and how do you expand? So we had the conversation. We were brokers at Realty One, right? Nothing against Realty One; they're a great company. They are who they are. Signature, a lot of other companies out here. It's growth, 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 growth. But the thing I'm so grateful for of being in that leadership role is I got to see, so did you, the pros and the cons of that game. Now, the pros are you get to be huge and you get to say you're the biggest company and whatnot. The cons are you lose the impact and deeper growth, and it becomes the law of diminishing returns, because then your growth can only, it's like, how many subways can you open in one marketplace before the subways start cannibalizing each
The
other,
others. Mhm.
right? And I think the beauty of for us was we were able to figure out that quickly, where we were like, okay, we never want to be that, and I'm looking for something on here.
And unfortunately, when you go that way, then you hire an agent that you think you shouldn't, but you're going for the numbers, and then they do something bad and get you sued, or worse than getting sued, they ruin your reputation. And
Yes.
that's something, I had an agent call me yesterday and said that she has a team, and she said, my agents are getting deals accepted because she's new to Urban Nest, because they said, oh, it's Urban Nest, Dave and Dave, and I want to work with your agents. You can't buy that. You cannot buy that statement. And that's what we show that other people don't. The hell with the numbers, go with the quality. And I see such every day. I see people that are just going for the numbers. Oh, I'll put a sign in the yard, even though it's not listed. So maybe I'll get the buyer first. That's not integrity. Oh, I'll throw a listing packet on this house because it's been around a few months and didn't sell, even though it's listed. Not integrity. And we try, I'm not saying we're perfect, because we're definitely not, but I don't know any other owners that try as hard as us to make an integrity company doing great business in a great way. And that to me is really important.
But this is where we have to slice through the noise, because it's all about, like, I sometimes I respond. I think some of the best stuff comes out of questions that people ask, right? And someone was like, would you switch brokers for lead gen, and instead of being 100%, take 80% on your personal deals and 50 on the lead gen that the company pays? Now, I know a couple of companies that do this, and I wrote, listen, if your primary source of lead gen is not controlled by your own efforts, relationship based, your own marketing, right, then you're a slave to whomever controls the leads. That's the reality. Facebook changes their algorithm, good luck.
Right.
Google changes their algorithm, good luck. Zillow decides to charge you a 35% referral fee, change the way you do business. Then I continued, sure, you may justify it to pay the bills, or say that it's just short term, but most agents I've come in contact over 20 years don't have the discipline to pivot hard to relationship based business once they start getting a database. So, what does that mean, right? Like, you could do the Atkins keto diet to lose the first 20 pounds. But eventually you're going to have to eat good and work out, or you're just going to, because if not, you're going to be on that diet for the rest of your life. Not healthy long term, and isn't going to, you're going to yo yo. Whereas you just start changing your actions. It's not sexy, it's not fun, but they're like, I love when they say, well, Dave, you know, you can only go so deep in your relationships. I'm like, we have 460 agents just on relationship based business. And how
Yeah.
many do you think that have left in 8 years? We've probably hired another 400 or five. I mean, we've probably hired 1,000 agents in 8 years at Urban Nest. Would you say that? We've probably over eight
No,
years have lost.
I don't think that many left. So, we have a very good retention. We had people get out of the
That
business.
even if we lose people getting out of the business, let's just say we
Yeah,
lost 40 a year. We're
right.
still at like 800 agents
Oh, I
off of
forgot.
relation.
We've been in business over 8 years now.
So my
That's
point
where I
is,
would have the gray hair if I had hair from you, but I don't have hair. So
but here's the point. There's 15,000 realtors, and who knows, there's probably been 40,000 realtors in that time. People have come in and left and whatnot, right? Through the MLS and through the GVR. And I say, we don't even incentivize.
no,
Like, don't even get me started on, like, that's where the product of your environment changes too. If you're recruiting people to your company because you get some kind of residual or you get something free, do you really want those people at your company representing you?
right.
Like, I just, and I love the saying from the the other people, you don't own your business. I'm like, bullshit, you don't own your business either at these new companies that are virtual. Like, the minute they go out of business, you lose all your stock options, you lose everything. If your downline of agents stop producing business, you don't make any business. If you can make phone calls and market to other agents to join your company, you can make phone calls and market to clients to do business.
Agreed.
It's a better.
I agree.
So I continued on with, and good luck saying that you can only have so many personal referrals. We have 460 agents with little to no marketing, and all even our personal business is off of deep and connected relationships. Don't drink the water, baby. And
Truly. And it's funny because we had an agent leave a team, and she was doing great business, and she's had a few years in the business. And basically what we both advised her, she was going to go look at another team in another company. And we gave her the advice to market yourself, do it on your own. And she is having the best year of her career on relationship-based business. And it's interesting that she is a living example of what you're saying. If you look and you go back to your contact, to your relationships, to your prior sales, you will have, if you do the job right, I'll put that disclaimer in, you will have a wonderful, thriving business.
when you don't go relationship based to start out with, when you move to a new marketplace.
Right.
When you move to a new marketplace, guess what? Buy leads, but even then, you should be joining every single group known to man.
Well,
You should be.
take me, Dave. I came here and I only knew you. And then I left the company that I couldn't take my listings of sales. And every transaction that I had in that company was from my relationship, as short as it was. One was a guy you introduced me. I did 3 sales for his family, then referrals from selling other houses. But in the end, they weren't company franchise-based transactions. They were relationship-based. And then I went to 100%. It was a different story. Everything went well. But do you see what I'm saying? It was all relationship, even when I didn't know anyone.
So let's go back to great realtors aren't born, they're made, right? So here's the thing, I know your product, your environment. If you're not succeeding, you pretty much have two choices. Get out of the business and give up. It's okay. Not for
It's
you.
okay.
Okay. But at least then keep your license and get some referral money, right? You worked hard to get your license. Go to license hanging. We got one coming soon here. You know, get some money. Or change your environment. Change your environment. And that's why I think like I'm not even, and I know sometimes I've done a better job of getting out of scarcity than you, only because I've had so much more training. When you hate when I share our mindsets with other brokers, right? But the reality is like we're gonna have 500 agents and that's it. There's 15,000 realtors out there. If other brokers want to take this advice and run with it, please do. It makes it better for all of us. That's the reality. And the reality is you have to stop being a puppy factory.
Had
Do
to
you know what
bring
I
that
mean by
up
this?
because I'm looking for a puppy. So God, do I know about a puppy factories.
Stop being a puppy factory. And what a puppy factory is, you don't give a shit about the puppies. You just keep breeding the poor mothers to death. You just keep popping out those puppies because you want to turn and burn and make as much money off of each puppy in the world. You know, be a rescue shelter. There's plenty of like realtors out there who have been neglected and they don't have a home because no one ever put the time into them. They become the best realtors. Is that a good metaphor? Or does it make sense a little bit?
It
Like,
is because I've been looking for a dog. I've been looking for a Shih Tzu, and they're either hybrid breeders that are trying to control you, or they say, "Where's this dog from?" "Oh, Arkansas." "Oh, why don't you have any papers if it's a purebred?" "Oh, we're just breeding them, and it's turn and burn, and the puppies are going to be all defective and not good dogs. So it's impossible for me that wants a good dog to get one." And that's a great point.
because you have both types of real estate offices, right? You got the puppy factories that they offer the cheap, get your license, must stay with me. Hopefully you do some business. I get as much commission off of you as possible, churn and burn, and you're probably out of the business, or you'll find a company like us or some other good companies out there, and we have to retrain them all. So it's almost like a puppy factory. You got to retrain that dog, right? Because they don't trust the owner anymore. They've had a bad experience. Then you have the other end where they just want purebreds and ones who have had all the training. Well,
Right.
that's BS.
You froze.
Ah,
You're better. You're in.
okay. Like you can't just say, oh well, you can only come to my company if you do 20 transactions. Someone else put all the work into you, or you somehow figured it out, and now we'll take you. That's BS too, right?
It is.
What?
It
Right?
is.
I mean, am I wrong?
And half the fun or half our charge in our case with our brokers and ourselves is seeing that new person or that person that never developed become a huge success. That story is what excites me. Seeing the person coming to us that has done one transaction go to 15 in a year. It excites me because of hard work.
Well, after 8 years, it's one of the few things that really get you going of seeing the change in people's lives, right? That's to me better than having 1,000 agents and things like that. Like when you're people, at the end of the day, another amount of money will change your day-to-day life. But someone going, wow, and I've heard this pops about you so many times, and I feel myself as a 42-year-old man becoming this. But when like they figure out there's a father and the son, and they're like, there's always a story. I know I've done so many speeches about this with you. There's always some kind of story where your father helped me out a ton. Your father was the best broker I ever had. Your father really made a difference in my life. And it wasn't, you could tell they're not talking about just real estate. They're talking about just the fact that you gave a shit. And
What?
I mean, This is the conversation I'm having tomorrow about in my Nest 10 challenge conversation. My 70 agents going to be doing it. I'm going to write a book called Just Give a Shit. Like, it's the difference of like someone on here calls you, and this is where I learned from you. They're like, can I get a comp on so and so and so and so? I don't know what I'm doing. And you taking that next step and be like, how are you doing? Tell me about the house. What's going on in your life? That's a nuance and a distinction that other people don't do.
I did it this morning. I got to talk to an agent that I haven't spoke to for a while. And I was like, how's your life? What's going on? You having a great year? And then we went, and then I was talking to that other agent yesterday, and she said, Dave, we just talked for 15 minutes. Can we get to the point where I called you for? And I said, of course, let's go, But you got to care about the person too. You really got to care what they are.
Plus the context matters. And I'll answer a question, or the brokers, Georgia or Jennifer will answer a question, and the agent will lead with the issue, but they'll leave out some of the most important part of the story. And then I'll say to them, whoa, why didn't you lead with that? Now, like all the advice I just gave you, throw it out the window. We have to start over. And all of this, guys, this is what we mean when we say realtors aren't born great realtors, they're made. It's years of immersion and training with people that care, that people are experts. You don't wake up and have it figured out. Even if you're seeing, one of the worst things that can happen is seeing great results and you're making money and you start believing your own bullshit and you think you're a good realtor. Remember those? Because you think your 1099 determines whether, and you're just a bully that no one wants to do business with, right?
Right.
Like, a great realtor is not just someone who does a lot of business. A great realtor leaves other realtors better than they found them. Like, I want to do business with this person again. You may not like me. You may not like this bald guy next to me, but if you get into a transaction with us and something goes to hell, which inevitably they do, we're going to treat you with fairness and respect. And if you're dirty, we're going to call you out on it. We're not going to let you slide. Right? That is how great realtors are made. Good point? No? Yes?
Yeah. I mean, that's how we live. So, and it doesn't have to not be our realtor. If we see our realtors doing something, we're going to call them out. We're going to warn them. And then another thing no other company does, we're going to fire them and say, you're not following by doing the right thing.
I don't know of, you talk about, this may be more impressive. This is us tooting our own horn. Last month alone, someone in our Nest level who did 26 transactions last year, we politely told him to move on. There's very few companies that will say no to the almighty dollar.
I go faster than you. There's no companies that'll say no to the money.
No, there's some good people out there. There are some good companies. It's just, Pops, integrity and values, I think everybody has it. I think they don't do enough work to remind themselves what matters. And I think, unfortunately, what we're seeing in society is just selfishness, because it's so much built around money, success, money. And how we define success needs to be redefined.
You bet.
And unfortunately, you find out too late. So, we're going to be pushing this. This is a very hard, very difficult message to communicate about doing the right thing. And what we say all the time, one of our mottos here at Urban Nest and in my personal life, is do the work and do the right thing. And go after the money, go after the success, but not at the expense of your integrity, not at the expense of who you are as a human being. That's the distinction. All right, Pops. Well, that's the conversation I wanted to do. Do you want to add in any?
Yeah, I have a few things. The 15th, just so you know, the 15th, the governor's moratorium, that's tomorrow. The governor's eviction moratoriums are gone. But I just want to remember to everybody that the eviction from the CDC rules, which are posted, are in effect till December 31st. So no, you're going to see on the news, I'm sure you did. I've been watching local news and they've been talking about this for 2 days. So there are rules, and then the Center of Disease Control order does go into effect, and there's totally separate set of rules. But just a FYI, I don't want you to go crazy and start evicting people tomorrow. Of course, there are a whole different set of rules for that. So
My internet today, everything is a shit show back here. I've went offline like 3 times.
I know.
Noticed?
Yeah.
You could do open houses, do them intelligently, still keep wearing your mask, err on the side of caution. Make sure your sellers leave the house one person at a time. It's not a free for all. Whatever you believe is justified. I will support your beliefs. You want to make out with every person you see? Go for it. But you still have to follow the rules, right? So you don't want to be the person who has to call your client and say, well, we showed you a house and you didn't wear a mask, they didn't wear a mask, and the listing agent just called me and said they have COVID. Because it seems like everyone's not worried about COVID until they're exposed to it. Then they start really taking it like, oh shit.
Yeah, then you go, do I had a mask? Was I 6 feet? Did I touch them? Did I, then comes all the panic. And we've come in that situation where people have said the handyman got it or this one got it after they were with them. And in all our cases, the people that stayed 6 feet, had a mask, and was using the hand wash all did not get it. And I'm not saying that's a guarantee, but I'm just telling you that those precautions in our business and in what I've seen have worked. Because there was a handyman doing work at one of the agents' houses. Both agents, listing and selling, the buyer, the seller, and the handyman were all in the same room. They stayed 6 feet, they had masks, and they had the Purell, and no one got it. So,
I mean, listen,
no guarantee.
no.
But today they made it. I don't know if you guys heard the news today. They said that gatherings now are the getting the COVID to now is through family. Small family outings are giving it to each other. And I said, oh boy, that
Listen,
doesn't.
Here's the deal. We said this yesterday on the Broker Roundtable inside. I had to go to DMV because we got a new lease. I had to go. Made an appointment. No one there. Beautiful. Just had a new baby. We're in the hospital. No choice. Have to be there. Nobody there. Am I not living my life? No. Are there things I'd like to really do? Yes. Am I as concerned about getting it as I was 6 months ago? Probably not. Would I still be concerned? Yes. Do I want to have to get it? No. So am I going to go around licking toilet bowls? No. If Chris Christie survives, maybe I go lick toilet bowls. If he survives, we should all survive. And the reality is I have very anecdotal, which everybody has. I mean, you talk to one person, it's made in Wuhan, you talk to another. Listen, I don't know nothing, but I will say this. It seems like people who get tested and catch it and then go to the doctor and get treated for it seem to have better outcomes. So just be on top of it. If you had the flu, you take it seriously. If you have anything. So with that, my friend, what do you think? We're going to call it?
Call it.
Any takeaways?
Well, here I go again. I love Stevie Nicks. Lola dances like you. Ella dances like Angie, as we saw from your tape yesterday. Go do your TikTok.
This is like the WT TikTok. Have a great day.
Bye.